Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it comes from a translation of a message that I received. The message reads like this. Hello, my brother. How are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? My brother, I am a man who is only aged 37. I am still young. I have only one child. If I had known that this was the portion that God was going to give me, maybe earlier on in my life, I could have impregnated a lot of girls that I used to date. But I tried to sort out my life first because I wanted to give the woman that I was going to marry a better life, considering the fact that I was raised by a single mom. My mom was just impregnated by this other man when she had came to Harare working as a maid. When she fell pregnant, the guy then said, I want you to have an abortion, but my mom refused. My mom was then dumped by that man. Whenever my mom will tell me this story, my mom will say, my son, no matter what, never impregnate any young girl that you do not love. As long as you do not love her, please never impregnate her. So I kept myself, and even when I was still back home in the environment that I was working, it was quite easy for me to impregnate the girls that I was dating because I was working in the taxi industry. And we used to get a lot of these desperate young women that would want a free ride. I started driving taxis. You won't even believe it that I started driving taxis when I was 15 years old. That was when I started driving these taxis before I had even gotten my license, even an ID. I didn't have an identity card at that time. Like, you know that in our country, you can only get an ID once you are 16 years old. So before I had that ID card, I was already driving these taxis. It then happened that there was this other trip that I had an accident, but thanks God, no one died during that accident. But from that time, I can say that there was this other spirit that was just following me. I don't know where this spirit was coming from, but whenever I would try to be nice towards people, the person that I would have tried to help in life, that person would turn around and backstabbed me. I then got my driver's license and I started working at Swift. That is where I learned, and that is where I got the experience to be a truck driver. I started working as an assistant truck driver. After I had gone for my retest, the idea of coming to South Africa entered into my mind. I then came to South Africa very quickly after I had showed this other white man my license with the retest and everything. He said, can you drive? And I said, yes, I can drive. He said, are you sure that you can drive this Eagle? And I said, this is what I have been taught to drive. I then took that International and I started driving it, and he was really impressed. He hired me. This man, he had a small farm. So the problem with this man was that at his farm, there were a lot of guys. And when I started working at his farm, this white man, he was in the process of purchasing more trucks. So he was hiring a lot of drivers. He said, since I tested you, you are the one who knows this truck, and whenever I want to hire a new driver, you are the one who is going to be responsible of testing that driver, because sometimes I'll be very busy. So my job was that whenever a new driver would be tested at the farm, then I will be the one who would take that driver and go with him. It then happened that there were two men. These guys, both of them, they were from Zim. These guys, when they came, they said that they wanted a job. Then the boss said, okay, these guys, just test them at the same time. I do not want you to waste diesel, whereby you go out with the first guy, then you come back and you collect another guy. The first guy was the one who was going to drive until we had reached the where there was the main road and the N1. Then we would make a U-turn, returning back to the farms. The first guy, he drove. So when we were going downhill, I said, yeah, I can see that you know how to drive the truck, but the problem with this type of a truck is that the way that you are changing your gears, if there is a heavy load, you are going to kill a lot of people along the road, because the way that you have changed your gears, it is not very impressive. And these trucks, they don't have that very good braking system. You need to know how to operate these trucks. So those guys, they thought that maybe I was trying to be jealous of them, and they judged me because I was quite young, and they were like, what do you know? You have to remember that this white man, he is not your father. One day he's going to fire you. But those guys, I told them that no, I can't recommend you to the boss. We then returned back to the yard, and I told the boss about this problem that I had faced with these guys when we were going downhill. They were not shifting into the proper gears. So the boss said, okay, right now I do not want to hire them, but I have a shortage of drivers. Let me take them, and you are the one who is supposed to teach them how to properly use this truck before they can start going out with the loads. That is how those two guys started working for my boss. As I was training them, I faced as I was training those guys, it was not easy at all. Those guys, they didn't respect me at all. They would do whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted to do that type of These guys, when I was training them, it was not easy at all. They did whatever they wanted at that time. Then, as we kept on working together, these guys, they hated me a lot. Whenever I was not at the yard, they would lie to the boss. They would tell the boss that I was stealing diesel, and that bad luck started following me again. The same spirit that made people that I would have helped to hate me for no particular reason at all, it started following me. The boss hated me so much for about 2 years, Brother Nashi. Everyone at that farm was getting his increase except for me. When I would ask my boss would just say, Nick, I'll give you an increase next year. And at that farm, the boss was only giving us an increase only once in April. And if you do not get the increase that year, then you have to get it and wait for the next. If you did not get the increase that year, then you had to wait for the next year. I struggled so much because I kept on working for those low wages. Some guys that were new at that company, they were actually being given a higher salary than I was. My brother, when we had returned back home, my wife, she then spoke with one of her relatives who was a prophet, and we spoke with that white garment prophet, and he said, this thing that you are trying to do, it needs someone who is from a red garment prophet. He's the one who can assist you, or you can go to a traditional healer. I said, no, I do not want to go to a traditional healer because I am afraid I am going to be given some charms that are going to damage me. But I didn't know that a lot of people who claim to be red garment prophets, they are just your traditional healers. They just use Christianity to hide behind Christianity. When we arrived at this man's compound, he was actually using some of the traditional stuff. But I said, I am the one who is looking for help. Let me just ignore everything. I was then given this clay pot. After I had been given this clay pot, I was told that I had to go and find a place where there was a rock close to the river. I think I walked for about 30 minutes because from that man's house going to the river, it is about 30 to 35 minutes. I went there alone. But my brother, I swear to you that when I was walking, I kept on hearing some footsteps as if there was someone that was following me. By the time that I had reached that place where by the time that I had reached the river, I looked for the place where there was a rock. When I was about to smash that clay pot that I had been given by that red garment prophet, when I looked inside, it's like there is something that told me to look inside. I saw that there was my small boy that was in there. I just smashed that clay pot out of fear. Then I ran back to that red garment prophet. I told him everything that I had seen. He said that it is just your imagination. God does not scare his children like that. We returned back to South Africa. When we returned back to South Africa, good luck was now following me. I then started working for this other company that is called Airstone. When I stopped working at Airstone, I then got another better job offer at the company where I am currently working at, based here in Durban. But my brother, it started as dreams. They were just like your silly dreams. I will be walking with my son When I will be walking with my son will ask me, where are we going, Dad? Then, my brother, what will happen is that I will say, I'm taking you to the grave. When my son will ask me, why are you taking me to the grave, Father? Then I will say to my son, don't you know that you are not supposed to grow until you are old? You are supposed to die when you are still young. Each and every time when I will have this dream, when I will wake up, if I am sleeping in the truck, when I look outside of the truck, if I had this dream at night, then I will see a small child running underneath the truck. At first, I thought that maybe it was those Nyaupe boys. Then I would climb down the truck, then I would look around and I would not find anything. The last time that I had that dream, I then left the truck. As I was going around looking for that small boy, I then saw a creature that was horrifying. It entered into the truck. This creature then told me that you gave me your son so that I can protect you. I am waiting for the blood of your son. I told my wife about these dreams. When we had returned back home, we went and we visited that red garment prophet, the one whom a relative had directed us at, and the man claimed not to know what we were talking about. He said that he deals with the Spirit of God, and the Spirit of God does not deal with tokoloshis. He said maybe I went to a traditional healer. That is where I got these charms. Even my wife right now, she keeps on crying. She says, can you just confess? Where did you go? But I never went anywhere. This is the truth that I am telling you, my brother. I never went anywhere. I have never set my foot at a homestead that belongs to a traditional healer. I do not pray, but I believe in God. But this red garment prophet, he fooled me. He lied to me that he is a prophet of God, but he is just another witch doctor. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by our dear brother. Quite a sad story, quite a sad story.